I am 83 years old. I have stood on the sidelines of 4 Olympic Games. I have watched athletes I trained step onto the highest podium in the world. I have seen gold medals placed around the necks of people I shaped, people I pushed, people I believed in before they believed in themselves. And I am here to tell you that I destroyed every single one of them. Not the competitors, not the rivals, not the pressure of the games. Me, their coach, the man they trusted completely. I thought I was building champions. I was wrong. I thought I was giving them everything they needed. I was wrong. I thought winning was the point. I was so deeply, painfully wrong. I am 83 years old, and I have spent the last decade sitting with that truth, waking up with it, going to sleep with it, carrying it like a weight no medal can balance. And I don't have forever to say this, so I am saying it now to you, because somewhere out there, someone is making the same mistake I made. A parent, a teacher, a manager, a coach, maybe even you. You are pushing someone toward greatness, and you don't realize what you are quietly taking from them in the process. I didn't realize it either, not until it was too late. The first time I understood what I had done, really understood it, I was sitting in a hospital room. One of my greatest champions was lying in a bed, staring at the ceiling, and he said something to me that I will never forget for the rest of my life. He said, "Coach, I won everything, but I don't know who I am." I had no answer for him. I had spent 40 years teaching people how to win. I had never once taught them how to live. That is the mistake. That is the one that haunts me. And if you are building someone, a child, a student, an athlete, a team, you need to hear what I am about to tell you. Because I thought I had time to fix it. I was wrong. Later never came for some of them. Don't make my mistake. I started coaching at 31 years old. I had been an athlete myself, not good enough for the Olympics, but good enough to understand what it felt like to be close and fall short. That feeling never left me, so I made a decision. If I could not be the champion, I would create one, and I was good at it. I had a gift for seeing potential in people before they saw it in themselves. I could watch a young athlete move for 5 minutes and know this one has something. This one can go all the way. My first champion was a boy named Daniel. He was 14 years old when I found him, quiet, thin, unnoticed by everyone else. But I saw it immediately. I took him in. I built his entire life around performance. Every morning, 5 a.m., every weekend, every holiday, every birthday that passed without a real celebration because we had training the next day. His parents trusted me completely. Daniel trusted me completely. And I pushed him hard, harder than anyone around me thought was right. When he cried, and he cried often in those early years, I told him that pain was just weakness leaving the body. I believed that. I truly believed that. When he wanted to quit, I told him quitters never find out how great they could have been. He stayed. Every time he stayed. By 19, Daniel was on a national team. By 22, he was standing on an Olympic podium. I was standing in the crowd watching him, and I felt something I had never felt before in my life. I felt complete. I thought, this is why I exist. This moment. This boy I built from nothing. I went home that night and I cried. Not from sadness, from pride, from purpose. I thought I had done something beautiful. I thought I had given Daniel the greatest gift a person can receive. Achievement, greatness, a moment the world would remember. I thought I had time to celebrate it properly. To sit with him, to ask him how he felt, to finally slow down and just be with him as a human being, not as a project. But the next competition was already scheduled, and Daniel needed to begin preparation, so we moved forward. We always moved forward. That was the only direction I knew. I did not ask Daniel if he was happy. Not once in 8 years did I sit across from him and ask that simple question. I assumed that winning meant happiness. I assumed that medals filled a person up. I was wrong. I was building a machine and calling it a man. And Daniel was not the only one. After him came Maria, then Jin, then 4 others over the next 2 decades, each one more decorated than the last, each one more empty in ways I refused to see. I had a system, a method, a philosophy built on sacrifice and repetition and results, and it worked on paper, I was one of the most successful coaches in the history of my country. In reality, I was dismantling human beings, one training session at a time. I just didn't know it yet. The cracks were always there. I chose not to look at them. Daniel started drinking after he retired at 27. Maria disappeared from public life entirely. Jin told an interviewer years later that he had not felt genuine joy since the age of 13. 13, the year before I found him. I read that interview alone in my kitchen, and I sat with it for a long time. I told myself it wasn't my fault. I told myself I had given them opportunities most people only dream about. I told myself that greatness has a price, and they had chosen to pay it. But late at night, when the trophies were quiet and the house was still, I knew the truth. I thought I had time to go back and fix what I had broken. Later, I told myself, later, I will check on them. Later, I will have that real conversation. Later never came, not the way I imagined it. It was a Tuesday morning. I remember that detail clearly because ordinary days have a way of becoming the ones that change everything. I was 71 years old, still coaching, still waking up at 5 a.m., still believing that what I was doing mattered in the way I had always told myself it mattered. My phone rang. It was Maria. I had not heard her voice in 6 years. She did not say hello. She did not ask how I was. She simply said, "Coach, I need you to know something, and I need you to actually listen this time." I said, "Of course, tell me." And she told me. She told me that she had spent 3 years in therapy, trying to understand why she could not feel love, not give it, not receive it. She said she had been in relationships that fell apart because she only knew one way to exist in the world: perform, achieve, or be nothing. She said she did not know how to rest without feeling guilty. She did not know how to fail at something small, a recipe, a conversation, a quiet afternoon, without feeling like she was worthless. She said, "You taught me that my value was my performance, and I believed you. I believed you completely. And now I am 38 years old and I am learning how to be a person for the first time." I held the phone and I could not speak. She was not angry. That was the part that broke me. She was not calling to blame me. She was not calling to hurt me. She was calling because she still cared about me. After everything, she still cared. And somehow that was worse, because anger I could have defended myself against. I had arguments ready. I had justifications built over decades. But her calm voice, her exhausted, healing, still gentle voice, walked right through every wall I had built. I sat down on the floor of my hallway. I am not a man who sits on floors. I am not a man who loses composure. But I sat on that floor and I stayed there for a long time, because in that moment, every face came back to me. Daniel, Maria, Jin, all of them. I saw them not as athletes, not as results, not as proof of my method. I saw them as children, children who had come to me open and trusting and full of something that had nothing to do with sport. And I had taken that openness and I had filled it with targets and timelines and performance metrics. I had looked at human beings and seen potential outputs. I had confused development with production. I thought I had time to see them differently. I was wrong. I thought the medals would mean something to them forever. I was wrong. I thought that building champions was the same as building people. That was the greatest mistake of my life. I called Daniel that same evening. He answered on the second ring. His voice was tired in a way that had nothing to do with sleep. We talked for 2 hours. For the first time in the 40 years I had known him, we talked with no agenda, no goal, no performance to prepare for. And in those 2 hours, I learned more about who Daniel was than I had in 4 decades of standing next to him every single day. He told me about the loneliness, the way retirement had felt like falling off a cliff, because his entire identity had been the sport, and the sport was mine, not his. He told me that winning the Olympic gold had felt like relief more than joy, relief that I would finally be proud of him. That sentence stopped my heart. He was not winning for himself. He had never been winning for himself. He was winning for me, and I had never once stopped to ask, "Daniel, what do you want?" Not in competition, in life. What do you actually want your life to feel like? I thought I knew what was best for him. I was wrong. I thought giving people greatness was the same as giving them a good life. Later never came for the version of them that existed before I got there. I had moved too fast, pushed too hard, looked too far ahead. And in doing so, I had missed the entire human being standing right in front of me. Don't make my mistake. I want to tell you something that took me 83 years to fully understand. And I need you to hear it slowly, because we live in a world that celebrates results, that worships achievement, that puts gold medals and promotions and perfect grades on pedestals and calls them the meaning of a life. And we have confused the trophy with the person holding it. That is the lie I lived inside for 40 years. I believed that if I could make someone excellent, truly, undeniably excellent, I had done something good for them. I believed that pushing people beyond their limits was an act of love. I believed that discipline was the greatest gift one human being could give another. And I was not entirely wrong. Discipline matters. Effort matters. Excellence is not a small thing. But I was missing something so fundamental that everything I built on top of it became unstable. I had forgotten that the person matters more than the performance. Read that again. The person matters more than the performance. Not the result, not the ranking, not the medal, not the grade, not the promotion, not the output. The person, the living, breathing, feeling human being who is standing in front of you right now. They are not a project. They are not potential waiting to be unlocked. They are not raw material for your vision of what they could become. They are already someone. And your job, whether you are a coach, a parent, a teacher, a manager, a mentor, your job is not to build them into what you need them to be. Your job is to help them discover who they already are. I did not know that. I thought my job was to install greatness into people. I was wrong. Greatness that comes at the cost of identity is not greatness. It is a beautiful cage, and I built beautiful cages for every person I ever coached. They looked extraordinary from the outside. On the inside, they were searching for themselves in the wreckage of everything I had replaced. Think about the people in your life right now. Your child who you are pushing toward a future they have not chosen. Your employee you are driving toward targets without asking what they value. Your student you are measuring in grades instead of growth. Your partner you are shaping quietly into the person you need them to be. Ask yourself honestly, am I seeing this person, or am I seeing what I want them to become? Because there is a difference, and that difference is everything. I spent 40 years seeing potential instead of people. I told myself it was for them. It was for me. My identity was built on their success. My worth as a human being was measured in their medals. When they won, I existed. When they struggled, I pushed harder, not because they needed it, but because I needed them to succeed so that I could feel like I mattered. That is the truth I avoided for decades. I was not coaching them. I was using them to coach myself out of my own feeling of inadequacy. That is painful to say. But it is the most important thing I have ever said. Because the moment I understood that, really understood it, I stopped being able to pretend that what I had done was purely noble. I had taken young people at their most open and trusting, and I had made their development about my legacy. And the world called me a great coach, and I called myself a great coach. And nobody stopped to ask the athletes how they felt about the lives they were living inside the greatness we were all so proud of. I thought discipline without tenderness was strength. I was wrong. It is just damage with good posture. I thought achieving without belonging was success. I was wrong. It is just loneliness with an audience. I thought later was always available. Later never came. Not for the childhoods that passed inside training facilities. Not for the birthdays that became just another day before competition. Not for the quiet moments of just being human that I replaced with targets and timelines and relentless forward motion. You cannot go back and give people their time. You cannot return to someone what was taken during the years when it mattered most. You can only look at what is in front of you right now and choose differently. The greatest thing I ever did was not produce 6 Olympians. The greatest thing I ever did was sit on a hallway floor at 71 years old and finally let the truth in. Everything changed after that. Not for all of them, it was too late for some things, but for some of them, there was still time. There is still time for you, but only if you stop pretending that later is a real place you can visit whenever you are ready. Later never came for me the way I planned. Don't make my mistake. I am 83 years old. I wake up every morning and the first thing I feel is not pride. It is not the memory of those 4 Olympic Games. It is not the image of gold medals or podiums or national anthems playing while my athletes stood above the world. The first thing I feel every single morning is the weight of what I did not do, the conversations I did not have, the questions I did not ask, the moments I walked past because I was too focused on the destination to notice the human being standing right in front of me. That weight does not get lighter with age. I want you to understand that clearly. People believe that time softens regret, that eventually you make peace with your mistakes and they become quiet. They do not become quiet, they become clearer. And the clearer they become, the more urgently I need to say this to you. So listen to me now. If there is someone in your life you are pushing without seeing, stop, not slow down. Stop, look at them, really look at them. Not at what they could become, not at the potential you have decided they carry, not at the future version of them that lives in your imagination. Look at who they are right now, today, in this moment. Ask them how they feel, not how they performed, not what their results were, not whether they hit the target. Ask them, are you okay? Are you happy? Do you feel seen? And then be quiet and actually listen to the answer, because I did not do that. I asked about performance. I asked about effort. I asked about commitment and focus and whether they were giving everything they had. I never asked if giving everything they had was slowly emptying them out. I never asked if the person doing all that giving had anything left for themselves. I thought I had time to ask those questions later. Later never came. And now I am 83 years old, sitting with the answers I never collected. I want to tell you something about time. Time does not wait for you to be ready. It does not pause while you finish building your career or reaching your goal or completing your vision of what someone else's life should look like. It moves quietly, constantly, without asking your permission. And one day you will look up from everything you were so focused on, and the child will be grown, the student will be gone, the athlete will be retired, the person you thought you had more time with will be living a life shaped entirely by what you gave them and what you took from them, and you will have to decide what you think about that. I have decided what I think about it. I think I was given something rare and extraordinary. I was given the trust of human beings at their most vulnerable and most hungry. Young people who came to me believing I could help them become something. And I did help them become something. I just did not help them become themselves. That is what I would change, not the training methods, not the hours, not the standards I held. I would change the way I looked at them. I would look at them like people first, athletes second, results never, because results are what you measure. People are what you are responsible for. And I forgot that for 40 years. Don't you forget it. Not tomorrow, not after the next competition or the next review or the next milestone you are chasing. Now, look at the people around you now. Tell them they matter beyond what they produce. Show them that your love, your belief, your presence is not conditional on their performance. Because if it is conditional, if they only feel your warmth when they succeed and your distance when they fall short, then you are not building them. You are teaching them that they are only valuable when they are useful, and that lesson will follow them for the rest of their lives. I know because I taught it without ever saying a word. I taught it through every training session I prioritized over a real conversation. Every milestone I celebrated and moved past too quickly. Every time I looked at a struggling human being and saw an underperforming athlete, I thought I had time to be both, the demanding coach and the caring human being. I thought I could give them the hard years and make up for it with tenderness later. Later never came. It never comes the way we plan it. So I am asking you, begging you, with whatever time I have left to say anything that matters. Do not wait. Do not tell yourself that later you will slow down and really see the people who are giving you their trust right now. See them today. Love them today. Not for what they will become, for who they already are. I created champions. I know that. The world knows that. But the people I coached know something else. They know what it felt like to be seen as a result before they were seen as a human being. And no medal in the world is heavy enough to balance that. I thought I was building legacies. I was building wounds. Don't make my mistake. You still have time. I am not sure how much time I have left. But you have today. Use it differently than I did.